Tom Thibodeau was fired because ...
The the New York Knicks wanted to fire him. I think we try to make things a lot more complicated than they are. If you make the Eastern Conference Finals in a year where nobody expected you to get out of the second round, regardless of the circumstances, and you take out the defending champions in a decisive 6 game series, and that's not enough for you to keep your job, that meant that nothing was going to enable you to keep your job. You can talk about the Knicks roster and how top heavy they are. They're a second apron team. And I think that is something, Dan, that we don't talk about as much. When you look at the Phoenix Suns and the Milwaukee Bucks, some of those teams that are in those second aprons, those very punitive, investment heavy, parts of the CBA, the expectations are championship. And even if the roster doesn't look like a championship, the investment of the money says we expect you to deliver a championship. Now, maybe Tom Thibodeau took this team as far as it can go, and you need a more innovative offensive mind. There was a lot of chemistry issues, it looked like, between Karl Anthony Towns and Jalen Brunson. But I ask you, Dan, when was the last time you've seen an NBA champion that had defensive issues at the point of attack with its point guard and at the rim with its center, and you won a championship? I don't know if God himself could have worked the magic that Tom Thibodeau was asked to work in these playoffs.
So you're saying then they overachieved with Tom Thibodeau, not underachieved?
In these playoffs, yes, absolutely. I don't look at, or I'll say this to the fans. Did you know that Landry Shamet and DeLon Wright were actually in the NBA when Tom Thibodeau threw them out there? Now, you can say Tibbs didn't develop his bench and everything else, and depth in today's game wins. When you look at the Oklahoma City Thunder, you look at the Indiana Pacers, the two teams playing in the NBA Finals, you are absolutely correct. But when you build a team that says, Mikal Bridges, we're going to pay 5 first-round picks for you. And then we bring in OG Anunoby before that. And then on the eve of training camp, we trade for Karl Anthony Towns. You don't have the space to develop a bench. And I know Tips should have developed the bench better, but I can't think of a coach being fired because of supplementary players. Now, if you tell me that Jalen Brunson or Karl Towns or Mikal Bridges went into a meeting individually with Jim Dolan and said, we know what you're thinking. Maybe this isn't the guy to help us move forward. Okay, fine, because this is a totally different team than the team Tibbs took over all those years ago. It's a much more talented, offensively based team, and maybe that's the reason. But either way, guess what, Dan? We won't find out because Punxsutawney Phil will never come out of his shadow. And I'm talking about Leon Rose. We never see that man. I will be bald-headed before we ever see Leon Rose in public again. And let me tell y'all, I got a good hairline still.
See, I think that if you make a move, you fire a coach or hire a coach, you should get in front of the media. You got the media capital of the world, New York City. You made the move. If I'm a fan, I would like to at least have answers. What was it that we didn't get, and what are you bringing in? Now, he might show up if they bring in Michael Malone, take a victory lap, and then maybe they don't ask questions about Tom Thibodeau. But you got to get in front of the media here. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm surprised that Knicks fans, well, for one, Knicks fans don't like the media. Nobody likes the big bad media. So when the media says, hey, there's a need for public accountability, you can look at that in all different spheres of our world today. Nobody likes the media pointing out that accountability is necessary. But let me say to this point, even if you go hire a Michael Malone, what is the difference between Michael Malone and Tom Thibodeau? Wasn't Michael Malone fired in large part because of his inability to work with the front office to develop young players? Isn't that one of the complaints about Tom Thibodeau? Don't they come from the same New York sort of tree, the tree of NBA coaches? I feel like they're kind of similar.
Do you think they know who they're hiring?
No, I don't think they know who they're hiring. I don't necessarily know if you have to know who you're hiring. I don't think this is the case of when the Pistons fired Rick Carlisle in 2003. They knew they had Larry Brown in their back pocket and they wanted to win the championship that next season to validate it. I don't think this is that. I think they are walking in this with a relatively open mind. You see the list of guys, even some coaches who are still in the contract. They owe Tom Thibodeau $30 million. I will say this, and I'm going to go back to firing the Tibbs. When you fire a coach for $30 million left on his deal and you're willing to eat that, it's not just the owner. Because I've heard 3 hours before
hey, is Tom Thibodeau safe? And someone told me, two people told me inside that building, close to that building, they said, not unless Dolan wants to. So I don't just think it was Jim Dolan. I don't think it was just the players in those closed door meetings. I think they had long made this decision, and I don't think they had necessarily a list of who they had in front of them, a closed down list. I don't think it's going to be Jay Wright. I'm not sure if it's going to be Jeff Van Gundy or anything like that. I think it's the New York Knicks being the New York Knicks.